Good morning and welcome to Better Thyself segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Every human being makes conscious efforts to be happy, but that process they forget is self-defeating. Happiness quest is like quest of utopia, quest of El Dorado, and what all these life coaches, mentors, self-help books, shelves are full of them. They always exhort you to make efforts to be happy. In fact, my experience is that if you stop trying to be happy, but you focus on some major thing, it will automatically result in happiness. For example, I was reading Nietzsche long back, and his statement, he who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow, whatever the condition is. But he has to know the reason for living. He has to know the base why he's living. There has to be mission. There has to be meaning to life. And if you have a meaning to life, you will be happy, whatever the constitution may be. Because everything is subject to change. A lot of people tell us that the human beings mostly are hedonists. What they want to have is eat, drink, and be merry. We want to avoid pain. But then, don't you always do so? Don't you at some time choose to suffer? We do. We go to work to make money to have fun. We go to store to buy food. But in the end, all we want is a pleasure. But that's not right. As a matter of fact, I personally believe that motivational pluralism is much more important. It's a terrible sounding name, motivational pluralism. But then, this is the idea that we want many things. You just don't want to have good food. You just don't want to have good dress. You want to have respect. You want to have compassion. You want to have gratitude. You want to have an aura of plurality. So we should reject one word answers what motivates people. What is good about an individual human life cannot be boiled down to one single value. Some people want to be handsome and beautiful. Nothing wrong with that. Are all about justice, are all about happiness. So pluralistic theories are more plausible. What that means is postulating a variety of relevant values, including human well-being, justice, fairness, beauty, artistic peaks of human achievement, quality of mercy. So that combined together makes happiness. So if you are motivated in the plurality of motivational behavior, you would find happiness automatically. You don't have to search for it. Now, one alternative to pleasure is meaning. As I said, meaning of life. This drive for meaning is every bit as important as the drive to have a good time, to enjoy yourself, to be happy. If you don't have a meaning in the life, you can have the best of the food, you can have the finest of clothing, you can have all the respect, but there's something biting you in between. What am I doing? Am I living? As I always say, mere breathing is not life. Even flies breathe. Mere eating is not life. Even snails and the worms eat. Mere walking is not life. Even ants walk. You have some reason to live. Don't exist, live. And if you live in a plurality of values, you'll automatically happy, so you don't have to search for happiness. So focus on that. Second point, and I told you I'll talk of 5 points. The second point which you should do is suffering should not be abhorred, should not be rejected. As a matter of fact, I personally feel that suffering can enhance pleasure. What happens? You are having all the sugary things, And the moment after that you feel cloyed, you want something saltish. So, similarly, if there is suffering, automatically when the suffering level is reduced, you will have a pleasure. Normally human beings avoid suffering, anxiety, stress, discomfort, but many times we seek it out. Think of your own negative experience. Maybe you go to a movie that makes you cry or scream, and we always listen to sad songs. We look before and after and pine for what is not. Our sincerest laughter with one pain is fraught, and our sweetest songs are those which tell of saddest thought. So you might listen to sad songs, you might poke at sores, eat spicy food, immerse yourself in hot baths. Maybe you can climb mountains, run marathons. Why do you seek these unpleasant experiences? One reason is benign masochism. Sometimes pain can help you escape from yourself. A sharp jolt of pain can distract you from day-to-day worries. Sometimes you seek out pain to signal to others how tough you are. Sometimes pain is the source of flow and mastery. As a matter of fact, if you are not eating because you have no food, there is not much good to be said about that. But if you are not eating because you are on a fast, look at the Karwa Chauth the women celebrate. They are hungry for the satisfaction that they are praying for the life of their husbands. Look at Ramzan, 30 days. Not even they can they intake saliva. That is a demonstration of control and mastery, and that gives you satisfaction. The simplest explanation for a benign masochism is that pain and pleasure are intertwined. And pain can be cause of pleasure. New scientists will tell you that brain is a different machine. And experience is understood in terms of contrast. It's not a monochrome. It's a multi-hued one. If studies involve gambling, losing $10 is pretty bad. But if you thought you had lose $50, that's not bad. It's actually quite positive. What we human beings do is, we play with this contrast in order to give ourselves pleasure. We seek out pain to maximize the contrast with the experience that comes next. And that's why Aristotle talks of catharsis. The pain, the tragedy, they purge us of bad emotions and we feel calm, peace of mind. The bite of a hot bath could be worth because it's blissful contentment that comes with the time when the temperature cools. The burn of hot curry can be pleasurable, provided it is followed by a shocking relief of a cold beer. And this is a contrast. And this theory that we choose to experience pain is normally not told by the life. And human beings always want tragic things, not the happy things. Happy things are okay for some time, but they are not eternal, they are not permanent. So, there was a guy, who used to bang his head against the wall because it feels so good when I stop. Not he was mad. People who was masochist. Now that's why I said positive masochism, not negative masochism. Third point, don't avoid suffering. Sufferings provide meaning to your life. As a matter of fact, when we suffer, our latent capabilities emerge and make us a better human being. Young warriors sometimes choose to go to war. And there are others, cowards, who don't wish to be maimed or killed. And they hope to experience challenge, fear, and struggle, and they fail. But the brave one would do that. We want our children. We know how difficult it is to bring them up. But we rarely regret our choice. The suffering caused by bringing up the children is offset by the pleasure, by the happiness that comes out of it. So, suffering in any aspect can be seen this way. More generally, the projects that are central to our lives involve suffering and sacrifice. And if they were easy, what's the point? Easy projects are not something which gives us ultimately happiness because they don't give meaning to life. Five facts link suffering and meaning. First, individuals who say that their lives are meaningful tend to report more anxiety, more money, more worry, and they struggle more than the people who say their lives are happy. People who say they are happy and are seeking happiness, ultimately they are less satisfied than the people who struggle, who work hard. Secondly, the countries whose citizens report that the most meaning in life, meaning they live life more meaningfully, tend to be poor countries. But then, where the life is relatively difficult. And this is different from the happiest countries, which tend to be prosperous and safe, because they have suffered. They had a meaning to life, and meaning to life comes from that. Thirdly, the jobs that the people say are the most meaningful, such as the medical professional, are members of the clergy, often involve dealing with others' pain. Have you seen that? How much pain the doctors see every day. They don't become immune to the pain. They develop empathy. And that gives a meaning to life. They are able to understand how much pain you are, and that develops compassion, empathy, human feelings. And fourthly, when asked to describe the most meaningful experience of life, what do we think? Do we remember the pleasant events or do we remember painful events? We remember more of painful events. And most importantly, when we choose pursuits, we know what will test us. Everything from training for a marathon. So, we know at the gut level that the difficult jobs that we are undertaking matter. And where it hurts more is worth more. So that's the third point. Fourth point, efforts sweeten life. Now, have you seen the efforts paradox? Human beings normally seek to reduce effort and try to make things easy for themselves. The result, they are not happy. And sometimes effort is the secret sauce that makes things better. One of the classical findings in human psychology is that more effort you put in something, the more you value it. And the more you value it, the more you cherish it. And more you cherish it, the more satisfaction it gives you. And isn't that happiness when you get the satisfaction? As a matter of fact, this is the logic of Benjamin Franklin's classic advice, how to turn a rival into a friend. Ask him or her to do you a favor. Having work to help you, they will like you more. Have you read the novel Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain? He had to whitewash his fence. And when his friends came by, he pretended to be delighted at the task. And soon his friends were paying him for the privilege of working on whitewashing. So he was earning money as well. That is, happiness comes automatically. So if you make an effort, they sweeten life. They are the source of play. Actually, Tom Sawyer discovered a great law of human action, namely, make a man or a boy covet something, desire something. And it's only necessary to make that thing difficult to attain. When the thing is difficult to attain, you make effort for that. And that effort makes sweetest life. That is what I say, the salt of life, the sauce of life, which makes it much more pleasurable. Now there are stories or anecdotes, you know that. Michael Norton and his colleagues at Harvard Business School did a series of experiments where they found that the people who prefer objects they help to create, they become attached to it. This is what I would like to call IKEA effect. You know, this big box store where people assemble their furniture and then value it more. You go to a shop, buy a sofa, bring it back. Well, it's a sofa. But you bring a sofa, assemble it yourself, and then you have a player in assembling that. And you value it more. Another manifestation of the player, of effort, is what can be called flow. You might think that perfect life is sitting on a sofa, watching Netflix, watching a stupid movie and relaxing. No. As a matter of fact, you would find that you will get more pleasure, satisfaction and richness when instead of watching Netflix, you are doing some activity which involves you. You are not just a spectator. You know you are in a flow when the time goes by. And you don't notice it because when you are working, you don't notice how much time has passed. Many times, I know it, I have been so working, I forget to eat and miss appointments. But for this to happen, the activity has to have a certain sweet spot. If it's too easy, any job, it gets boring. If it's too difficult, you'll get anxious. And when you get anxious, the power of the flow. And this is felt by all great athletes, by musicians, by artists, by writers, all of us. And that gives us satisfaction. And the last thing, don't try consciously to be happy. There are two reasons. The first is that it is self-defeating. You can screw up being happy by trying too hard. As a matter of fact, people are, when they are motivated to pursue happiness, they ask questions. To what extent do you agree with the statement, feeling happy is extremely important to me? For example, they can't give a reply. As a matter of fact, the people who agree with such bland, meaningless statements are depressed and lonely. And there are few reasons for that. By setting unrealistically high expectations, they set themselves up for failure. Or maybe the self-conscious pursuit of happiness makes you think a lot more how happy you are, and that you are thinking how happy you are and you are thinking of the negative things. And that is the process of stopping happiness. It's like thinking how good you are at kissing. Probably get in the way of being a good kisser. You are all thinking, well, I'm going to get good kiss. No. The second part of the problem is that when you are asked what makes you happy, we are usually wrong. It turns out that pursuing intrinsic goals, external goals, related to praise and reward, like good and making money, make you less happy, less satisfied. Because if you are failing, it makes you depressed, makes you anxious. Paradoxically, if you want to be satisfied, if you want to experience happiness, pleasure, joy and meaning, try hard at attaining, less at attaining these things. Try less and you'll get more. Try more and you'll get less. So, focus on these 5 points. And you don't have to struggle to find happiness. Happiness comes by itself. When the pain is there, the pleasure is there, the effort is there, and most important, there's a meaning to life. Otherwise, happiness is a chimera, a dream which may never be realized. And if you really want to be a better human being, focus on these 5 things. Happiness is an attendant to these things. It follows. So you don't have to search for it. It will come to you automatically. Thank you.